you're paying two managers in.
Well,
Kevin wouldn't become the manager until
No,
Terry
until Terry's
retires.
gone.
That's what I'm
okay.
saying.
All right.
It was going status.
They would be running a person short,
Okay.
is what's gonna happen.
All right.
Because they're a small
But
department.
they meet the minimum staffing though. No, they do meet the minimum staffing.
So Philip,
I know,
yeah,
Ron.
you take it over from here, take a look, and see what we got.
Yeah, just a quick note on under early termination and termination for just cause, I would recommend adding after, if the county desires, or the county may terminate, but by a majority vote of the board, just so it's clear that one board member can't unilaterally
Correct. Okay.
What page
take
is
any
it
actions.
on?
3, isn't it?
What page is it on?
3.
I got you. Yeah.
Where do you want to put it at?
Second bullet under early termination, just after the word county, if the county by majority vote of the board desires to terminate. And then this second termination for just cause, the parties agree that the county by majority vote of the board.
Majority vote,
Yeah.
It's on the,
Correct.
the volume's on it.
I'm talking about on the YouTube channel.
Okay,
Just so it's clear and that the appointee is clear that one board member can't unilaterally make the decisions.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good idea.
well, I mean, plus, it's gotta be something really major to go wrong if you just go and start whacking somebody out, you're gonna have a lawsuit, so. But, no, I got you on that.
Okay.
I see it.
Yep.
All right.
I agree. All right. Make note of that, and I guess send over, if you would, scan it, make your corrections, send it over, and
Would you be able to forward me a Word copy of it?
we could scan this and send it to you.
Okay.
Or they can have mine.
Well, I gave him a copy, but
If you would, put a different color or something, what you're changing. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'll highlight this.
okay. The other thing that I was wanting to talk about, let me get my notes. There we go. Okay. All right. I had talked with Brandon yesterday, and I've talked with Philip, and I've talked with Ashley about the hotel tax. We still have quite a few places here that either haven't filed a report or have paid. Now, two things on this. I received, of course, I told you about that from a guy who is paying his tax. But he asked the question, why should I pay when no one else is paying? And so that's when, I talked with Philip and I talked with Brandon. I do know that they've sent letters out to the different entities that are behind. And I know that court is closed right now. Brandon told me that that's the first step. And I know there's a protocol in doing this. So it's the second step, I guess. I don't know how much time before you send the letters out to where you act. I don't know. I don't know. Have you contacted any of these, or is the state's attorney's office contact them?
I know that Philip has sent out letters.
Yeah.
I made contact, or tried to make contact yesterday after talking with you, with two of the delinquent hotels. I have not received a phone call back. The only reason why I made the call to it, there's I think 3 main ones, but I had the correspondence from one of the hotels. I looked back in April, asking them, or they were asking about deferment. Told them that we were not deferring it. We collected that on behalf of Business SI and kept a small portion for the administrative fee. Told them at that time it appeared that they hadn't paid in February, and asked them to please check their records and to respond back to me. They never did. So I had that number, and I tried to call that hotel yesterday. They did not call me back. The lady was on the phone and didn't call this morning. The other one was a past customer of mine when I was at the bank. So I have reached out to him, but I haven't received a call back from them either. So, and I think I may have the final one that's on there. I actually may have another contact number for them. providing some kind of email correspondence, and I could try to reach out to them.
I got a question here, 'cause I really don't know what we're talking about here. So if somebody says, why should I pay mine if nobody else is, what are they talking about?
Okay.
The bed
There's
tax.
there's
Hotel.
occupancy tax for a hotel that they pay both the city and the county. You know, the county's is 3%.
Right.
Yeah,
And they
so-
pay the state.
And they pay the state too. So it's on the honor system. They basically send us a report that says, here's the amount of
Our night
rooms
stays.
and income that we receive for this month. Based off that 3%, then you get your, they give you your number and then they send you a check. It's all on the honor system. I mean, we don't.
Well, that's what, again, I know how bed tax works, I understand percent, but one person saying, why should I pay it without, how many is he talking about? I mean,
Well,
How
I mean,
much money
now,
or-
no, well, how many
currently,
other people is he talking about? I'm
Oh, I
not
got the
paying.
list right here.
There's 4 hotels, and I mean, and 3 of them are major flags or have been around for.
Because that comment doesn't make any sense. Why should I pay if nobody else is?
Well, you've got some other major hotels here in town that either have not filed or have not paid for the last couple months.
Well,
And just if, I don't know, Jim. you got-
And they
This
collect-
is,
And
But I
they're,
mean, it used to be basically anywhere, the last was around $20,000, and all of a sudden it dropped down to 13. And then it jumped back up to 17 because we sent out the letters and spoke to some of them, and they paid like 2 months worth to get it back up. But, you know, they're all telling us that, you know, they're only renting 4 to 5 rooms a night. But the thing is, and what we've discussed in the past, we collect this 2 months in arrears. So they've already collected that money. They should
Yeah,
be accounting
that-
for that money.
Right.
that's the
Right,
point. They've
Right.
collected it.
And they're not. But I mean, obviously they're struggling.
so they're talking about only during the COVID time, not talking about
No,
forever. We're talking
they've been
I mean,
behind for a long time.
There's been several that we have had to
Right.
make phone calls to, and in the past, it's just that now, instead of it just being sporadic and being 1 or 2 every so often, now it's 2 or 3 or 4.
Correct.
And unfortunately, the ones that hadn't paid in the past usually were one of the like major hotel brands. So their remittance was smaller. Now you got ones that are actually major flags that, you know, owe $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 and then, or more.
So what is the city of Marion saying about this?
I have only talked to Wendy once. I think they're having the same issues with certain ones.
They'd have to be
The
having
city
the same
also,
issue.
though, they defer for 30 days, at least in one
Well,
scenario.
doesn't it come to you first and then you dish it out to the
No,
city?
no.
Oh, you don't?
They send a single check
Two
to the
checks?
city, and then they send a single check to
Okay.
us.
All right.
So
Well-
they're filling out 2 separate reports, one for the city's portion and sending that stuff, and then one to the county and sending that on.
Well, some of these places owe for at least 3 months, you know, and when you're figuring, now this is the second part, what I think needs to be adjusted. And I was talking to you is, the penalty is $100 per day.
That's what's in the.
Okay, so that means that's about $9,000 that they owe just in penalty.
Yeah.
Just in penalty. Okay, when they're paying about, on average, $2,500 a month in tax.
Right.
Okay, so second part of this is I think we need to step that penalty. That's my opinion, because you get some of these little places that may be paying, turning in, for example, here we got Devil's Kitchen Cabins, $77, $82, $55, and $90. That's their bed tax that they pay. They're being penalized if they prevent or don't pay at the same rate of $100 a day versus, say, for example, the Hampton Inn, who pay $2,500 on average, or Fairfield Inn, you know, $1,600, $1,400, you know, averaging $1,500. I think it needs to be stepped because you're penalizing them at the same rate as these big hotel chains, and it's just way out of balance.
And is that $100 a day? That's the current penalty?
But I mean, yeah, that's the, whatever the ordinance or resolution that was passed by them. That's what's in the language.
So
Which version of the resolution? Because I had sent out copies of the original resolution. I know it had been altered several times.
I don't know. I couldn't tell you what.
In my opinion, I think it probably needs to
what
be
version
more
it was.
relative to the business. You know, maybe we can set levels, different
By
levels.
number of rooms or something.
Number of rooms
Well-
or number of tax dollars, you know, anything that they pay under $100
It
and
could be a
under
percent too, because I know some
4%.
counties do like 2% per month, or 3% per month.
And that would probably work out better, actually.
Yeah, and it really does. I know, I'm very familiar with Union County on this, and that's
Yeah.
what they do for the delinquents. They have it's 2%.
Mhm.
And that's, to me, that's very fair.
You could do it off of the most recent submitted amount.
I'm just saying though, that, you know, you get a little place that pays $100 or less,
Yeah, that's.
and they're hit with the $9,000
Right.
bill, they're not gonna pay that.
Right.
They'll fold or whatever. And we don't want that.
You couldn't collect it if you wanted to.
Yeah,
But at 2%, you know, if it's $72 and you look at 2%, now that would be, that's per month. So, you
Right.
know,
correct.
if it's 1 day late, it's 2%. If it's 28 days late, it's 2%. Then if it hits another one, then it's another 2% on top of that.
Whatever. We could do something like that.
I think 2 or 3% would be a very fair amount.
And basically compounding. Is that what you're saying?
They don't compound it. When you, at that point in time, if they're behind 2 or 3 months, getting it compounded is
We're back to the same
Yeah.
situation here.
And, I mean, from a calculation standpoint, it's a lot easier just to do it as a flat rate based off of the prior month they had submitted. I mean, rather than compounding it and all of a sudden, you know, coming up with new.
So you're
new
saying,
totals each time and you're adding on to it. So, I mean, say using your $70, you know, 2%, $1.40. So it's $1.40 every month until they pay it.
yeah, that's,
Not doing.
I would have to say-
71.40,
Okay.
you know, and then,
I'd have to say more than 2% if that's what. it
well, but I
was.
mean, it's being relative.
But it's 20, you know, you're
Yeah.
2,500 times 2%. Now you're at $50 a month.
Yeah.
You know, it slaps their hand, but you're not trying to be punitive here.
Right.
I don't look at this as a
No, I
punitive.
mean, the $100 a day is outrageous.
Yeah, it is outrageous.
I don't know if you went before a judge and you
But-
threw it out there, the judge gonna agree that.
You know, you're only talking
But
about,
anyway, that's-
$100 a day?
This is a separate issue though.
Right.
So the penalty is one thing, but in getting these people,
well, let's look, what's the question? I got a question. So for the people that are behind, because the court system is down, and it'll be back up and running next week, but everybody and their brother is going to be wanting something next week. So what is the policy here? What is the not policy, what is the procedure? So we come in, we've got some businesses that are behind. We've got some businesses that are behind 5, 6, 7 months for either filing or paying. When they get a letter, what kind of teeth does this letter have? And what does it say? What, you know, how does this letter work?
So
What's going to preclude them to get a wild hair and say, okay, I want to pay this now?
So the letter itself doesn't have any teeth and it's not part of any policy or procedure. The procedure is they assess a late penalty, the treasurer's office. If the hotel continues to be delinquent or fails to file reports or fails to pay their taxes, we can file an ordinance violation because they're violating a county ordinance. I sent a letter just because I didn't really know what was going on. I didn't know why they were delinquent or whatnot. And I just wanted to make sure everyone was on the same page and we could prove that everyone's on the same page, that they are aware of the ordinance and they're aware that they are delinquent. In the letter, I said, I've been notified by the treasurer's office that you are currently delinquent, have a recent history of being delinquent and or failing to file reports. Please contact the treasurer's office to get information on how much you currently owe or policies on the late penalty or what have you. More information, basically. The next step would be, practically speaking, for Ashley and the state's attorney's office to meet and discuss a strategy going forward. Do we want to go ahead and file an ordinance violation? Do we want to send out a follow-up letter? Do we want to ask for a meeting? The most significant thing we could do would be to file an ordinance violation, take it before a judge, and present a case for prosecution. If they are found to have by a judge to have violated the ordinance, they can be ordered by a judge to pay their taxes, any late penalties, potentially attorney's fees or court costs. But again, that's a judge telling them to follow the law that they've already broken.
Now, if you remember, the board here voted not to postpone
Right.
that. So you can't go back and forth on this.
Well, I don't think it should be postponed. I think they should
Right.
I think they should pay the money. They're collecting.
They've
the
already
money.
collected it, yeah.
I genuinely feel as a business owner, if you're collecting the money, you're an agent for that money and you should pay it. I do not think under any circumstances that should not be paid.
I agree. It's 2 months, they got the money, so.
And I guess the in between from the first part, what you said, you sent out the letters, to how long do you wait before we act on part two? Either contacting them or whether, or prosecuting them.
We can
or-
file an ordinance violation today. We don't have to contact them to notify them of their delinquency. Ignorance of the law isn't an excuse. I was doing that as courtesy because they could
No, I
have had
understand.
management turnover. They could
Sure.
so just letting them know you're delinquent. This is the law. Contact the treasurer's office to figure out how to come to, get even with it.
And I will say this, a lot of people might be surprised about this, but I think there's a lot of businesses that run differently.
Mhm.
They look at things differently, and things that you would think that they would pay, they don't. And for whatever the reason, they're not all upfront and run. Some of them are running paycheck to paycheck, and they go through periods of slow cash flow. I understand that.
Now, I know historically, from what my discussions with Wendy, we don't have a significant history of enforcing that ordinance.
Mhm.
I know that there was one instance where I think it was Devil's Kitchen Cabins, and I might have that name wrong, was severely delinquent over
Mhm.
months or years. And this was under Garnati, filed an ordinance violation. They just came to a settlement agreement where they agreed to pay all or a portion of what they had owed. So,
Yeah, it wasn't 100%.
so I don't know if I can't go back and see how we've always done it because it hasn't always been done.
Sure.
So this is just sort of what we as a new group want to do.
I just feel that, and whoever you're talking to, they make a valid point. Because if they're paying theirs, they're doing what they're supposed to. They're collecting the money. Everybody on that list, every day that somebody stays there, when they collect the money, whether it's cash or on a credit card, they're collecting that 3%. And that becomes they become an agent then. They become their responsibility to pay that money because they have already collected it.
Right.
And, I don't like taxes, but when I collect taxes from people that I do business with, then that becomes my responsibility to make sure that money gets paid. And I don't think that it's right. I genuinely don't. I think the person that you're talking to has a very legitimate complaint that he or she is paying their taxes that they withhold properly and other people aren't.
And that's the main argument. This guy will always pay the taxes. He's just a upfront guy. He always will. He doesn't have a problem in paying it. He just wants to see fairness. I know if you look at what we pay in property tax, okay? If I'm paying my tax or you're paying your tax and I don't pay mine, eventually I'm gonna lose my home. That's the
Well,
penalty.
That's one of the things I say. What is there as far as the penalty goes?
Not much.
What can we do or the city do if they choose not to pay this? Can't close them down
On a short term, not much.
Get a judgment.
or
The
ordinance
court-
violation?
If the ordinance violation is successful and they're found to have violated the ordinance, the judge will ideally file judgment in the dollar amount of whatever. That then makes, and I'm getting into finance here and that's not my forte, that makes the county a collector and we can file a lien potentially against the property.
Yeah, I mean, if we have a judgment and you report it, if by some chance that entity went to go either sell the property or refinance the property, whenever they would do their, the title search, they would be able to see that there was a judgment filed and we would maybe eventually get that. But I mean, in most cases, most, loans are, 3 to 5 years long or 7 years long. So it may take, 3, 5, 7 years, 12 years to, even see that money.
Well, some of these I know are owned by individuals. Some of these are owned corporately. Okay. And there's a big difference between the two, on some of these hotels that are corporate, that they may be based out of wherever, New York or wherever, have no idea what's going on, and maybe we need to reach out to them as well. This is where I'm saying we need to take a harder look at this and break this down as far as penalty. And I think, is this and I'm just pulling this out of the air. What is this corporation or an individual trying to earn a living? And I know corporations are trying to earn a living as well. Don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying, you're talking about the big guy versus the little guy, and penalties and everything, to me, in some degree, need to be relative, to what they're bringing in.
Good, or I like Philip's idea about the number of rooms if you wanted to step increment or something, to that.
Something,
If you did
whatever,
something that's
yeah.
Come on, some kind of fairness.
50
fairness,
plus
yeah.
room or 90 room hotel.
Well, here's
maybe
what,
There's a steeper than the little.
How about also,
cabin place.
how about also what they pay for the room? If it's $129 a night versus $59 a night hotel. That's where the money's coming from.
another way to do this is a minimum. I know the state does this a lot, where they'll have, they'll say it's, on some of the penalties and interest, we'll have 2% a month or 3% a month with a minimum of $25 or $50 would be the minimum penalty. But then for the bigger people, it would be 2% or 3%. That happens a lot with the state, especially in the form of payroll taxes. When you start dealing with payroll taxes,
Okay.
there's a minimum.
So how about we do this? How about we work, somebody wants to work with the state's attorney's office on this, and let's iron out everything, take a closer in-depth look, and let's see what we can come up with, because we can just sit here and talk about it all along, but, and then let's come up with a fairer plan, and also more of a response to these individuals on collection. Right now it's kind of a tough time. It's because of the COVID, and that's really what's prompted all of this. I think a lot of this, with the stay-at-home order.
There's more on there now than there have ever been. You still have the ones that, again, it kind of goes back to like when I was talking about the penalties for the taxes. You've got your ones that are always late.
Yeah.
Or ones that pay 2 months at a time because they missed a month or two, and there's really no rhyme or reason for it. But I can, there's one other one. I called the Hampton and Baymont. I'll call it, I think I have a phone number for the Fairfield. I'll try to reach out to them as well and find out if we can I'll follow up and know that Phil sent them a letter and tell them they need to get us the money ASAP, otherwise we're going to be moving forward with additional action. See what they say.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry to interrupt. The letter I sent didn't reference filing a criminal charge.
So we have to send another.
Yeah, I was just saying this as a status
Right.
update, saying we know you're delinquent. This is how to figure out how to get level with it. I can send out a follow-up letter to the ones who remain delinquent for the next 15, 20, 30 days with basically a threat to prosecute as a more.
Basically, I'll send them a demand letter. In finance, it was basically send them a notice of delinquency, then you send them a demand letter that says, you got 10 days, 15 days to pay up in full or removing,
Ron, how do you know what goes on in Union County? You want to kind of lead the charge with Ashley and Philip, and then sure.
You bet. Okay.
And then just kind of just get back with us, whatever you all come up with.
You got one of these, don't you?
Is that a little curl?
It's through March. I think they've got another one now, so that'll give you something to start off with.
Something else we need to talk about here just a little bit, just to get it where we're talking, just so we're aware of what's coming down the pike. Hasn't been signed into law yet, but going forward on the governor's wishes to have the mail-in for the ballots, just as an idea for what this could cost the county, we're looking probably at between $200,000 and $250,000 is what our cost to our county would be. And this would be for this November election. Of course, it's not in the budget. The question becomes, is there going to be any funding coming? And nobody knows at this moment. So I just wanted you guys to know that, this is a new mandate that's going to be thrown our way, and it's not going to be a cheap one.
Okay.
What's amazing is when this is passed and when this is set up, that there's a time frame in here. So within every other day, they're going to have 3 judges hired to come in and open up the envelopes for the people who bring, when the mail comes in, to check the signatures, to verify the signatures if they're the people's
Court
or
judges
not. Well, we don't know what the judge, that
or
time,
election judges.
there's just 3 election judges are going to have to be hired to bring in to do this. So that's an additional cost on top of just the mailing. So there's no guidelines been set on what those judges would receive for compensation.
Okay.
But that's another cost on top of the 200,000.
Put that on top of the pile of the other mandates.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say, not to just, add more wood on the fire, but Phil, we talked about yesterday, the property tax, was an amendment passed. It appears that there's something about a waiver penalty being 120 days, and trying to look and see if that's something, although we're technically looking at deferring the penalty. But the other thing is the fact that they're talking about possibly postponing the tax sale. So I was already looking at the fact that with all the delays going on, tax sale wouldn't be until December, which means I know we probably have accounted for money probably coming in, by November 30th for our budget for this fiscal year. It's not even, it has a chance to be there, but now there's a chance that it could not happen at all in 2020, be pushed back to 2021. So we're trying to get some clarification on that. And I also need to call Joseph Meyer and ask them how they're interpreting that. Are they looking at now scheduling everything in the calendar year 2021?
I really, that part about waiving the penalty, if somebody can't make their first installment, but I think that is really a good deal. I mean, you go to Jackson County,
We also budgeted $200,000 in penalties that we received on that money.
I
In
understand
our
that.
budget. So I mean,
I-
Ron's talking about being 250 short and, all this other stuff. And
Yep.
I mean, that's why I'm saying defer it like we had shown, but we were gonna have to enact those.
At some point,
because
if you want,
we are gonna be,
Yeah.
woefully short. in our
Yeah.
budget.
absolutely.
And that doesn't count for all the sales tax, income tax.
Right,
and
yeah,
stuff
that we
like
don't
that.
even know about yet. I mean, that's,
Yeah, that's
we're
no-
trying to
Right,
factor in the things that we have an idea
absolutely.
that we know could be lost, and then we're guessing
Well,
at those.
obviously, after Jackson County did their, the other day on their property tax that they released, I've had several people ask, well, what's going on here? So that's,
I talked with Franklin County on this one, and they have no idea how they're going to do this, because they're already upside down.
I bet though, the people that asked you are the ones that could pay their property taxes.
yeah, I don't know what their finances are.
But bottom line is,
I'll bring
in order for government to operate, that's the only way we get our revenues, that's it, it's the bottom line. I don't like it either,
But we don't
we
manufacture
all
widgets.
pay taxes. And,
To be clear, the tax penalty waiver in the bill I saw, that was optional. It said that the county board may waive the penalty by ordinance. So that's not the state telling you to waive the penalty, it's saying that you're allowed to.
Okay,
the penalty for the first installment, much like the mobile home tax.
I like may a lot better than shall, so,
In some circumstances.
very much so. Okay.
Other than that, you got anything?
No.
Okay,
No other good news.
I just need a motion, we'll adjourn.
I'll make it.
Second.
Ron Ellis.
Yay.
Jim Marlowe.
Yay.
Brent Gentry.
Man, these clocks.
So you're gonna take care of,
Why don't you
set
get
the
my-
meeting.
I gotta go get my
I'll
sur,
get to it.
I gotta get my surgical one on.
I'd say,
Around
I
here.
understand the percentage, but I think it's got to be more than 2%.
I
But-
think it should be a minimum, you know,